Hi, I'm Joseph from WP Absolute. I'm going to show you how to move your WordPress website from your local computer to your live website. It is always a good idea to develop your website locally. When you have finished developing your site, you'll want to move it to your hosting provider so the world can access your creation. In this tutorial, we'll be transferring the site manually from local server to live site. There are, however, simpler options by using a plugin to do the work for you instead. Before you begin migrating, we will assume you have a local WordPress install set up on your computer. If you do not, then you should see our guide on how to install WordPress on your computer first. You will also need a domain name and a hosting server set up and ready to use. In most cases, if you're just beginning, then we recommend Bluehost, as they offer affordable website hosting and domain names. If you want hosting with a little more power, then WP Engine is the hosting for you. Make sure you follow our guide on how to install WordPress on your hosting server if you have just purchased your website hosting and domain name. Finally, you will need to have an FTP application on your computer. You use the FTP application to connect to your server and transfer the files to it. FileZilla is a free FTP application we will be using. The first step is to export your local WordPress database. You'll need to make sure your local server software is running on your computer to access your database. We're using phpMyAdmin to administer your local database, so in your browser, go to localhost/phpMyAdmin. In the left-hand menu, select the database of your WordPress install. If you are unsure about the database name, you can navigate to where your local WordPress install files are located. Find the wp-config.php file in the base folder and open it in your preferred text editor. Near the top of this file should be a line that begins with define db_name. The value after it, in between the apostrophes, is your database name. Once you have clicked on your database, go to the Export tab. If you are installing a fresh version of WordPress, then choose the Quick Display Only Minimal options. When you are ready to go, select the Go button to download the SQL file. If the SQL is output in a text file, simply select all the text and copy it to a text file. Save the file so the file name has an extension of SQL. The next part of the process is to upload all of the WordPress files to the live hosting server. To do this, you'll need to connect to your hosting server using your FTP application. The details you need to connect via FTP are FTP server address, FTP username, FTP password, and FTP port. Add these details into your FTP application and click Connect. When you're connected to your hosting provider, navigate to the public HTML folder in your FTP application. If you're connected to the server and cannot see any other folders, then chances are it is in the public HTML folder already. On your computer, navigate to where the WordPress files are installed. Copy all of the files in the base folder to the public HTML folder in your FTP application. Depending on your internet connection, this will take a while. Just let it work in the background while you continue with the next steps, and make sure you leave your FTP application open as we will need it in a later step. The next part requires you to log into your hosting server and create a new database. Go to the MySQL Databases section. Enter a name for your new database in the field and click on Create Database. Take note of the full name of the new database. We will need to use this in a later step. On the MySQL Databases page, scroll down to the Users section. You will need to create a MySQL user so that the WordPress can use it to access your newly created database. Make sure you take note of the username and password that you create. You will need to use these details in a later step. The user that you created still does not have access to the database. You need to assign it on the same databases page. Make sure the database and the database user are selected in the corresponding drop-downs and click the Add button. You will be asked what privileges to allow the user to have. Select all privileges and click on the Make Changes button. Your MySQL database is now set up and ready to use in the next step. Once the database is created, you will be importing the SQL file you exported from your local install. Go to phpMyAdmin and select your database from the left. Click on the WP_options table. If there is no WP_options table, then it is likely you have a different prefix. In this case, you would click on your prefix_options table. Search the list of rows for site URL and home. If you cannot find these option names, then you will need to go to the next page. When you have found the rows, double-click on each of their option values to edit their value. you'll need to update them to the URL of your live site. When you are done, click away from the field you are editing to save the updated value. Make sure you are using the full address of your site, including the HTTPs. You now need to update the wp-config.php file on your server to point to your newly set up live server database in the previous step. This section of the tutorial shows you how to update your configuration files so that it can connect to your database. Before you begin this step, you will need to make sure your file has finished copying to your server in your FTP application. Navigate to the base directory of your WordPress install. You will be able to see a file called wp-config.php. Open this file in your preferred text editor. You will need to update the following database records with the values you created in the previous steps: DB name, DB user, DB password. The DB name field is the name of your database you created, and the DB user and DB password is the user logins you created in the step after it. Save the file and make sure it is uploaded, overwriting the file that was there. You should now be able to view your site live on the internet. Now that you can access your website, you will need to log in and save your site's settings. This is to ensure that the values that you updated in the database are correctly updated across your site. Go to Settings, General, and scroll down to the bottom of the site and click the Save Changes button for WordPress to update. Do the same with the Settings Permalinks page. Scroll down to the bottom and click the Save Changes button to ensure all posts are updated for your live site. That is all that is required to get your website online, though there is one final piece to the puzzle, which is fixing broken links and media files not displaying. When you access your site, you will find that your media is not displaying correctly and that the URLs that you created for your site still go to your localhost address. This is because your site is still referencing your localhost URL for media and links in your database. To fix this, you can either add a plugin to search and replace every record in your database, or you can do it manually by running an SQL query in phpMyAdmin on your server. If you would like to do this manually, then you can follow these steps. Navigate back to phpMyAdmin on your hosting server's cPanel. Select your database from the left-hand side and click on the SQL tab. Copy this code and paste it into the SQL input field. The code replaces your localhost URL with your live site's URL. Make sure you update this script to reflect your own localhost and live site URLs. Click the Go button to execute the SQL query. That is all that is required. Note that the query will only search your posts tables, so if you have other tables made by custom plugins, then it is easier to use a search and replace plugin to cover these tables for you. Congratulations on transferring your local WordPress site on your computer to your live site online. Hopefully all the steps made sense and you were successfully able to transfer your site without any issues. If you find yourself doing this on a regular basis, then it would be a smart idea to invest in a plugin like Backup Buddy or WP Migrate DB Pro. They do all the heavy lifting for you and will save you a lot of time. Did you find this guide helpful? If so, please give me a thumbs up on this video. Also, check out wpabsolute.com for even more WordPress tutorials, and subscribe to this channel to see more WordPress video tutorials like this. If you need a hand with any part of these steps, then let us know in the comments below. See you next time.